everyone, it's Kate Kalthoff and welcome to a Stamping to Share video. I'll be out of town tomorrow picking up some people from the airport and taking them on to another destination, and so I won't be doing a Facebook Live tomorrow, so I thought I would go ahead and just create today and put up a video for you. This card right here is a birthday card, and it uses a conglomeration of stamp sets, which I'll be sharing with you in a second. But let me show you the card. A couple of the things that I really like about this card are that I love the way Fresh Fig and Early Espresso go together. I think it's a really elegant design, and I also love that we are using our In Color Designer Series paper here in Fresh Fig. And then accenting it with gold is just gorgeous. Gorgeous gold. And then when you open it up, there's a really nice birthday sentiment on the inside. I love to finish the inside of my cards because what's the first thing people do when they get a card, no matter how pretty it is on the outside? Ultimately, they're going to open it up. So it's always kind of nice to have something pretty on the inside too. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start by sharing with you what stamp sets I used. First of all, I used the Label Me Pretty stamp set. And so this is a new, all of these stamp sets are actually new in our latest catalog. We're going to use the Happy Birthday to You. And then the next stamp set that I used on the outside of this card is this lovely conglomeration of flowers up here in the corner. And this is from the stamp set called Wood Words. Now you may have seen that this stamp set coordinates with a Thinlits set that creates a cute little crate that looks something like this. And it's the perfect size for little treats. And then it also is the perfect size for 3x3 cards. So these are some cards that I made to go in this little crate. And so I'm just going to set that aside. That's actually a cute little project we did as a stamping project when we went to a Stampin' Up event this spring. And we're going to set this aside now, and I'm going to share with you the last stamp set we're using on this card, which is Special Celebrations. One of the things that I look for is really good word sets. And this stamp set fits the bill. It's got birthday, baby, wedding, and it's just a great stamp set to have in your collection so that you have just the right words to say when you need to say them. Because of course it's nice to leave cards blank on the inside, but sometimes it's super nice to stamp a sentiment that says it all so you don't have to write so much. So we will set this aside and let's get started on this card. The first thing that I have here is a piece of Early Espresso cardstock. It's 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. Now I'm just going to take my cardstock folded in half on that score line. I like to use the Simply Scored tool to make my score lines on my cards, and then to give it a nice crisp edge, I always use the Stampin' Up bone folder. And now we're going to set this aside because everything else that we're creating is going to be on panels that we'll put on that card last minute. So the first panel, the front panel, is a 4 by 5.25 inch piece of Fresh Fig. And we're going to start by stamping some Early Espresso. So the Early Espresso that we're using is 3 by 3.5. And because we're going to stamp off the edge, I'm going to grab a piece of scrap paper here. I'm going to remove this little label, and we're going to ink up that beautiful conglomeration of flowers with our craft ink in Whisper White. So we'll just ink that up really well, and then we'll flip this over, and we're just going to stamp this in the upper left corner, just like so. Now this does take a minute or two to dry, so you can just set it aside while you're creating the rest of your card, or you can go ahead and heat set it with a heat tool. Now I did make one in advance so that I could use it on the video, so I have this ready, and we're just going to take some multi-purpose liquid glue, and we'll go ahead and just put this right on our card right now. So I'm just taking the glue, I'm putting a nice skinny little line around the border, and then I can flip it over, and we're going to set this in so that the top and sides are nice and even. Our next step is to take a piece of this wonderful In Color Designer Series paper. It comes in 12 by 12 packs with all 5 of the brand new In Colors, and It is great. It has a little bit of shading on, so it's just right on trend. That's very in style right now. And what we're going to do is we're just going to tear this bottom edge so that we have a nice little white edge here. And then again, we're just going to take some multi-purpose liquid glue, and we are going to set this right here so it butts up right against that early espresso panel we had just put down. And once it's wiggled into place, we can go ahead and do the next step, which is to do some ribbon wraps. And so for the ribbon, we're going to be using fresh fig ribbon, which coordinates perfectly with our fresh fig paper. We go ahead and snip this off. And then, because we're accenting this card with so much gold, we're going to take some 1/8 inch gold metallic ribbon. We're just going to put that right over the top of the fresh fig ribbon. I love to layer ribbons. It's a very nice way to add a little extra color and a little touch of elegance to your cards. We can go ahead and just use some Scotch tape to put this in place. And then we're going to do the exact same thing with our metallic ribbon. So we're going to grab a couple pieces of Scotch tape, and then we're just going to set those right here in place, right over the top of the fresh fig ribbon. And this is what it looks like so far. So now let's do a little stamping. We're just going to take a piece of scrap paper here, and we're going to ink up that happy birthday stamp from the Label Me Pretty stamp set. And we're just going to stamp this straight on. And now we'll grab that punch. Now this is a bundle, so you can actually purchase the stamp set, Label Me Pretty, along with the punch as a bundle and save 10% on both. And so let's go ahead and punch this out. So we'll just center this in here, give this a nice punch, and we have this beautiful, elegant label. Now we're going to make that label even more elegant by lining it with gold. So we're going to take the same punch and punch out a punch with the gold foil. And then, because if we put this on directly over the top, it's the same size. We could offset it and just get a little bit of gold along the bottom. But because I want this to look very layered, I want to have the gold on the top and the bottom. So I'm going to cut this in half. And then once again, getting a couple pieces of Scotch tape, we're just going to layer this on. So we can set this one at the top, and when it looks nice and layered, we can just flip it over and set down our Scotch tape. And we'll do the exact same thing with the bottom piece. So we end up with something that looks just like this. So you can see we've got our top and our bottom beautifully layered with gold. Now to put it onto our card, we're just going to flip it over and put a couple of dimensionals on. I did use 4 dimensionals. I've already removed the peelies from the back, and we're just going to set this so it's right over the top of our ribbon wrap on the right hand side. And we're almost done with the front panel. Now to add a little more elegance, we've got some gold and silver enamel shapes. And this is just, I just love these enamel shapes because they're nice and flat, so they go through the mail pretty well. To scatter them onto our card, I like to use a paper piercing tool. So I'm just going to grab these gold dots off with the paper piercing tool and set them on our card. So there's a couple of different sizes here, so I'll just take a variety of sizes. Set that in, and then one more here. All right, so we'll set this last one right here. So there you can see how beautifully that accents our card. And now we're ready to put this onto our base. So we're just going to go ahead and again use a little multi-purpose liquid glue on the back all the way around our card. And then we'll set this on the front, and the front of our card is done. Wiggle that into place just perfectly. And now let's work on the inside panel. So we're going to use a piece of Whisper White paper that's 4 by 5 1/4, and we are going to take just a 4-inch piece of the paper that will match the outside of the card, and we're just going to tear off a strip of that like this, because we want to kind of do a tear that matches. Now, if I would have been thinking, I would have saved the little tear from the front, but I didn't. And also the front tear was a little bit too skinny. I want this to be about a 1/2 inch. So we are going to set this here at the bottom of the panel, and it fits in just like so. Then we're going to do some stamping. So again, using the stamp set from Special Celebrations, I'm just going to ink this up with Fresh Fig and stamp this right here. Perfect. So there is our inside panel. To put this into the card, we'll just use a little bit of snail right along the top. We'll open it up and set this in. And so we have a beautifully completed card, which I hope you've truly enjoyed. So here's the card that I just did. Here's the card I had done in advance. Thank you so much for joining me today at www.stampingtoshare.com. If you'd like to place a product order, be sure to visit my blog, and I have links there to my online store. Have a great day. I truly appreciate you. Bye-bye.